Hi, thanks so much for joining us on today's series of Finding Financial Aid for You. Today we're going to talk about a very important issue facing all international students applying for student loans, and that's how much should you really borrow when it comes to your student loan. My name is Jennifer Frankel, and I'm from International Student Loan, and today we're going to look at this subject in a bit more detail. When you're an international student applying to your college or university, you're going to have to show that you can afford your education expenses. So you're going to have to show them your bank accounts and different facts that can show that you have enough money in the bank. But what happens if something occurs unexpected? For example, let's say you have a parent who gets fired from their job, or you have a sponsor who has a major medical issue and also can't afford your education either. Or let's say you come to the United States fully planned, you've got your budget ready to go, but then you realize that you have other expenses that you may not have considered. For example, you may find that you have to buy a car. So not only are you paying your monthly payments for your car, but you're paying for your insurance and your gas. These are all expenses that you're going to have to consider on top of the expenses that you already know. Every university and college lays out how much you're going to pay, and that goes into a few different columns. For example, you're going to have to pay for your tuition, your room and board, health insurance, books, as well as transportation. Now, it's no secret that if you're an international student, you're paying more than a U.S. student. So it's important to think about your expenses and how much you can afford out of pocket, and then use those student loans to pay and basically cover the gap of your education expenses. So we're going to look at an example that are going to demonstrate how much money you're going to have to think about in applying for your student loan. There are three different student loan options here. There is one for $10,000, $7,500, and $5,000. And notice that your cost of borrowing of 5% stays the same. What we're trying to show here is that the larger your student loan, the more expensive your monthly payment is going to be. So in this scenario, you're paying $79 a month, versus over here with only $5,000, you're paying $32 a month. So it's very, very important that as an international student, you think about those expenses and what your monthly payments are going to be. But what we've done is we've broken it into three simple steps, and that will help you figure out how much you, in your individual case, should borrow. So the first step is that you're going to want to figure out how much your income is and what your stipend amount is. From there, you're going to also want to consider your costs. Your costs will come into two different categories. You'll have the one costs, so for example, if you're buying a car, you'll also have your monthly payments as well that may include utilities and other expenses that you may contract. So you'll do two separate things. You'll put your income on top, you'll subtract it from your expenses, and then you'll come up with your final amount. That final amount can come two ways. It could be positive, which means you may not even have to apply for a student loan, but you can keep it in your pocket as a financial resource for later on. Or if it's negative, what you can do is have it available and figure out what the amount is and borrow from that student loan. But now realize that student loans you can apply for throughout the year. So there's no reason that you have to feel like you have to take out the $10,000 loan when all you need is $5,000. Because if something happens, let's say next semester, you can take out another student loan. So we hope that this has helped you figure out what your expenses are and how much money you should apply for when it comes to your student loan. Follow us on Twitter at #FinancialAidTalk, where we're going to continue the conversation on how much you should borrow for your student loan and ask any questions you have. Thanks again for joining us. We hope you found it informative, and we'll see you soon.